I wanted to share my experience of oneness with God, oneness with Abun. I was going through the awakening process, through the New Age movement. So I was opening up chakras and observing the lights in the entire neighborhood, the grid going down, flickering on and off. And how to talk to animals. Imagine a scenario. The neighbor's dog would be barking like crazy. And so I just imagined somebody opening the door and the dog going in. And somebody opened the door and the dog went in. And there was no barking going on incessantly after that. So I started to just emanate healing energy. A man selling meat, the packaged frozen meat, I forget the name of the company, but they have salesmen that would go door to door. And I shook his hand. He showed up at my door, like nose running, eyes red and irritated, tears just wet. And the guy's miserable. He's just trying to make a buck. And I shook his hand when he introduced himself. And just the awareness came over him that something changed. His eyes got clear. His nose was no longer running. But he pushed it in the background to give his spiel. And in another case, I went to stay with somebody who was called a friend at the time. And they had a friend who was dying of cancer. He was cooped up in a camper. He couldn't get up. He couldn't sit up. He couldn't speak. He couldn't feed himself. And unbeknownst to me, the day that he took me over to introduce me to his friend, he had slipped a gun under his friend's pillow so his friend could put himself out of his misery. We went back to the residence we were sharing, and I just started to consider and reflect on, the circumstances, the situation with his friend. And all of a sudden I got this awareness, he's not going to die. And so I went out and I told the one I was roommate with, I said, your friend is not going to die. Oh, he got so angry. That's when he told me about the gun and all of that. Well, the next day, his friend, he got a phone call. His friend got up out of bed. He was walking. He was talking. He was feeding himself. And my roommate comes up. He says, oh, he was so mad. He says, from now on, I'm in charge of his healing. I've researched all the herbs and the natural, the diet he should be on, and all. Then, boom. He would not allow, he detested the idea that my presence, which just exhumed healing, accomplished it. All his work, everything that he did, that he passionately, intellectually put into it, did not produce the results that me just walking and meeting his friend did. I would walk down the back roads, the dirt roads, because it was a very small town, so there's one paved road, and everything was off into fields, and the entire fields of waving wheat would just bow down to me. And my entire existence was, somebody came to pick me up, because obviously I had to move out of that household, because he was just totally against me at that point. And I had showed him a mirroring exercise where you speak back to the person what they speak to you, so that they're understanding that we are mirrors for each other. And so I did that to him. I said, for example, you just said to me, and I repeated his words at him, And he refused to accept him. He refused to learn what I was saying. And he said, ooh, I know a bunch of women I could use that technique on. Like, so to leave, the man that I was legally married to at the time, he came from out of state to pick me up, and we rode back, and the car rental company was just, nothing is clicking and making sense here. You didn't put as much mileage on, and you didn't use up as much gas as the trip was supposed to. So things went further. Time was manipulated. Everything was just, I flowed through this world existing in another world as well. So got back to home, to living with my husband, and things like I would get for knowing that he was going to die at work, and I'm on my belly, and well, I'm on my knees because I got a big belly. It feels like I'm on my belly because I was pregnant, and I'm scrubbing out the fridge, and I'm crying, and I'm pleading, what's going to become of me? Please don't let this happen. And he comes home. There was an explosion at work, but other than a scuff and scratch, he was fine. So my prayer was answered, but the lesson was learned, because later on, he basically kidnapped my daughter and held her away from me. And by the time that I could find them, she was already established in her life and writing letters how she's really content in her life. But as I went through this enlightening, this experience of just exhuming health out from myself, which brought everybody around me into a state of health who wasn't resistant to it, I asked why. And the answer came, so I would know that I was worthy. I didn't know worthy of what, but it was a big struggle for me to overcome my concept of self-worth, because I had none. And then it started to wane. That energy, that state of being started to leave me. I'm like, what now? Oh, now it's like you've been light as air, flying, and then you just got shot to the ground. And the understanding was that was the free gift. Now you have to work for it. You have to earn it. But that was an interpretation based on my fear-based experience, which once that oneness was gone, I was dropped back where I was found. And it was completely fear-based from traumatic childhood. I'm in the middle of a soul contract with somebody else that includes more trauma down the road. So what it really meant was, now I have to go through the process of shedding everything that was in the way of that ability, that state of existence that just exhumes health. And so now I feel like I am at the end of that. And what I experience is like a compressing. So it's like my spirit comes into my soul, into my body, bringing the entirety of itself. And I feel like somebody clothed me in a Mack truck. I mean, everything is just heavy and exhausted and empty of energy to do anything physically. And I know that it's temporary. I've been through this before, but just not this experience of heaviness, the compression I've been through, but not in my body like this. the compressing was of my understanding before. It was just get in, shove all the parts I gotta wrestle with together, and just overcrowded and lots of conflict, and oh, I understand this part, relief. Okay, phew, we're expanding now. We've resolved something. Oh, look, we're just that much better in our experience. But I'm at the end of it. So I'm dealing with the most primordial aspects stored in the body, because it's the spirit that didn't want to embody it. The spirit was busy traveling elsewhere. It could shed the skin where it stored all this stuff, like, and go off into the heavens and go take a nice rest in a field and do whatever it wanted. So now the spirit is contracting within me to go through this so that it can be an emanation of this health and well-being that I am meant to embody and that I am coming to. And how timely it is that I'm coming back into this state of being, having earned it, having uprooted everything in the way of it, when the world is going to need it the most. That's just so profound. It probably, it's like, it might be asked, well, why wait until it gets this bad? Because the question that I asked, why is this happening to me when I first awakened? Because I forgot to mention, my question came because everybody who expressed the healing went right back to the old belief systems that were not serving them. That roommate shut me out and went back to his intellectual part, and his friend ended up dying. So for me to embody this healing energy, it would not have been desired to learn what it takes to maintain that healing, that health, and that well-being. But when the world is suffering and desperate, they finally get to the point where they let go of their intellectualism, where they let their heart lead to love and the desire that they have for health and well-being. That's when they're going to entertain or just totally succumb. So if I have been held back in any way, that's because the time's not right yet. The fruits haven't ripened, and it wouldn't have served as well, as fully, as meaningfully as it does in this time to come. So that's what we have to look forward to when we experience oneness with Abun, the love, through Yeshua. And then when we let go of everything holding us back, that's when it gets to stay, when it gets to live within us. And I do so look forward to experiencing that day.